I'm looking right now. We had our little video call going on here. I can see Alex Weiner. He's giving me the peace sign. I want to make sure that he's ready to go. Hop on with us right now. Yeah, I'm getting the thumbs up. Cool.
Let's do it.
He seems very excited to be here. I don't know why he hasn't smiled yet. Alex, defend yourself. Come on, man.
Defend myself. How could I possibly not be excited to be speaking to you two on an evening like this?
Well, it's been a few games since we got to chat with you. So let's quickly reset. So the last time that we talked to you, you were from Philadelphia, and this team was down 2-0. Now here we are, and we're facing a Game 7 tomorrow. How did we get here? It's kind of a loaded question, but how did we get here?
Yeah, where do you want to start? My goodness. I mean, because, you look at it in its entirety. Okay, the only way to get to a Game 7 is to win 3 out of 4 games, one of which on the road against a Phillies team that looked unbeatable after the first 2 games. But, you go game by game and, they grind out that walk-off win in Game 3. And then in Game 4, they answer back again with the huge Alec Thomas home run and the Gabriel Moreno game-winning hit. And then, Game 5 sort of felt like, okay, the momentum may have gone a little bit the other way, but no, they completely punched back tonight. I mean, and Paul Sewald mentioned, like, not only the early runs, but to hold them in the first inning with a couple of runners on base, and then that leads to them scoring in response to that. It just completely, changed the energy of the game compared to what we saw last time they came here, where the Phillies were the ones kind of enforcing early home runs, getting the crowd going, getting ahead, and ended up holding on to both leads. The Diamondbacks didn't lead at any point in those first 2 games. Today was completely different, and the Diamondbacks playing from ahead a little bit different than playing from behind. So, they kept game by game. It looked a little bit different. It wasn't always the cleanest, but to get to this point is a pretty remarkable achievement.
Our D-backs insider, Alex Weiner, joins us live from Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. Strategy early in the game was to, it appeared, pitch around Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. They walked both of them in the first and then walked Schwarber again later. It seemed like they didn't mind too much, that it was kind of semi-intentional. Is that a strategy that you could see the Diamondbacks trying to utilize again in Game 7 with Brandon Pfaadt, where you tell them, like, hey, let's pitch around those guys and make the other 7 in the lineup beat us?
Yeah, possibly. Merrill talked about it after the game and wasn't too upset that he put those guys on and was able and had the confidence to go out and get the others out. So I don't think walking them necessarily specifically was the plan, but you're right. Pitching around them, making sure you're a little bit more cautious given how hot of a bat they've had, especially with Schwarber. So, but, Pfaadt in Game 4? I'm forgetting my games
3,
now. That was Game 3.
You're good. You're good.
It's either a game day or it's not a game day. That was Game 3. That was the 2-1.
They all run together.
So, exactly. So, but Pfaadt was, pretty aggressive. But he was just locating really, really well, not giving them much to hit outside of, one breaking ball that kind of got away from him that Schwarber fouled off 400 and infinity feet. But other than that, I mean, he was really aggressive against both of those guys. And when you can kind of pinpoint well, everybody has a hole in their swing, and Pfaadt looked good against them. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be like pitching around them to the degree that we saw today. Again, it's not like either trying to walk them, but yeah, they're going to be more cautious to those guys compared to the rest of the lineup, because those are the guys who have been, crushing them for some of these games.
This is the 3rd game that you were in attendance in Citizens Bank Park with that Philadelphia crowd, that raucous Philadelphia fan base, just coming off of a Sunday Night Football win the night before as well. So surely they're amped up. And it felt like the enthusiasm from the crowd was gone pretty darn quickly. Wouldn't you say so yourself? Because you were there.
Yeah, it was night and day. I mean, it's a big difference between hitting 2 home runs in the first inning compared to going down 3 early. And the crowd mimicked that, because after the Evan Longoria double that made it 3-0, I mean, it was like pretty quiet for a few minutes. And, they did their best to get ramped up. They get the run back and the momentum starts to turn, but then that's kind of all they get. And it was a pretty frustrated crowd for the rest of the game. And some of the loudest they got was when they were booing Craig Kimbrell when he came into the game, which was just surreal because it had a light show and like the closer montage video and all that kind of stuff. And the crowd is booing. And then people are leaving before the game ends. And it's like, wow, this is nuts. The way that, again, with Sewald, he said after the game, it was like, yeah, that we didn't really see them sit down for much of the first couple of games, and that was a little different. So totally different energy, and it kind of shows just how big getting ahead in these high leverage games can matter, especially when you're the road team trying to make it uncomfortable for the home team.
After 5 really solid innings of work, Merrill Kelly gets pulled by Torey Lovullo, and they showed the video on the broadcast of the confrontation, I guess you would call it, the incident between the two, where Lovullo basically stuck his hand out as to thank Merrill Kelly for doing his job, and Merrill's like, well, I'm not done yet. Why would you pull me now? Why? I just struck out 2 of their best hitters. Why am I not getting the 6th? And I understand his frustrations with that as well. Did you get the chance to talk with Merrill after the game about how he was feeling after getting pulled a little bit early?
I did not, but I went back and watched it. It was, it's one of those things where you could either go to the clubhouse or you go to the interview room. He was in the interview room. I was in the clubhouse. It's kind of a push and pull when
Right.
Over here. But yeah, I was able to watch what he said about it. And, it's kind of what you'd expect. He's a competitor who just struck out Schwarber and Harper to get out of the inning. And he thought, okay, he was on a bit of a roll at that point. He gave up a handful of base runners early, but to that point, he was executing really, really well. So he didn't think he was done, but Torey, he was at 90 pitches. They've got to the point in the game that they wanted to, where they could set themselves up with sort of the Thompson, Ginkel, Sewald, little soft Frank thrown in there, and rely on your best relievers to that point. He was at 90 pitches because he had to throw a lot of pitches early. He was at 65 pitches through 3 innings, which is a heavy workload and a lot of stressful pitches before he kind of settled down into a rhythm. So yeah, it was just one of those things where he felt like Merrill had done his job, and they had the relievers behind him locked up and ready to go to kind of finish the thing out.
Kind of a minutia question again from me. I love the minutia of baseball games, but at the point when it got to 4 runs of separation, were you surprised that Torey still executed the plan of that core 4 at the back end of the bullpen?
No, you have to win. There's no room to bring in somebody else who, and the other guys have been really good. It's not like Miguel Castro and Luis Frias, and it's not like those guys have been very good. But when you have the opportunity up a few runs against, especially up as offense as potent as this one, and how we've seen how quickly they can turn it on. So to lean on your best guys and get yourself to the next day, I don't think there was much of a question there.
Would there be any concern about them going a second consecutive day tomorrow? Because as we've seen it telegraphed in the past, and I see you shaking your head already, but as we've seen it telegraphed in the past, Brandon Pfaadt gets the good chunk, and then it goes to those 4. But they've been lights out all postseason. Any concerns about them going a second consecutive day?
No.
Plain and simple.
He
just hates when I ask minutia questions. That's all it is.
No, it's not really a minutia. It's not that. It's Thompson threw 15 pitches. Stahl Frank only had to throw 6 because Gabby Moreno threw out Kyle Schwarber, who decided to test his arm. An unbelievable throw, by the way. The only way you get him is with a perfect throw. And of course, Moreno delivered that. Ginkel, 13 pitches, Sewald, 11 pitches. Nobody had a big inning where they had to grind it out for 25 pitches. They all had the day off yesterday. So it's one of those things where it's going to be all hands on deck. It's game 7. And they've counted on those guys in back-to-back days of this postseason already. This is an even lighter load than a lot of those guys threw when they threw back-to-backs earlier this postseason, even earlier this series. So yeah, I wouldn't expect too much of a limitation on what they're able to do in the bullpen.
We're talking with our D-backs insider. Alex Weiner is joining us live from Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia after the Game 6 victory for the Diamondbacks. One of the hottest bats and one of the most confident bats in the lineup right now is Alec Thomas. Hit that 2-run homer in Game 4. He hits another one the next game. He's involved heavily in this game. Do you keep Alec Thomas in the lineup for Game 7 despite the fact that you're going to face the lefty, Ranger Suarez?
Yeah. I'm in a radio booth, so once in a while someone pokes their head in. Yeah, it's a good question because this series they've done it a little bit differently. They've gone with the DH of Longoria, with Rivera taking over third base, getting more right-handed heavy. That's going to be a good question, but I don't know. He has been so good these past few days, and it's not just with the home run. Today, 2 big walks. For him to come up after the 2 home runs were hit, work a walk, get yourself in position to continue the inning, and then Longoria sees a couple of good pitches to hit and drives him home. So he gets on base a couple more times in this game. He steals second. He put them in positions to score even more. And so just the defensive value that he provides, because again, another awesome defensive game from him, specifically that ball that he cut off, forget who the hitter was, but I think it was Stott. But there was a ball that he cut off in center field that prevented him from getting to second base. That could have been potentially a huge deal. So just the defensive value that he brings, paired with just how confident he looks and how good of the at-bats that we've seen and how patient he's been at the plate these last couple of games. I don't know. It's, if it was my call, I'd put him in there, but it's not my call. So we'll see what happens.
Well, one guy that we know is very likely going to be a part of tomorrow's lineup and maybe even moved up a spot in the order. That's Ketel Marte, who tied the record for a postseason hitting streak to start your postseason career. Now he's reaching other territory as far as postseason hitting streaks. What can be said about the value that Ketel Marte has brought to this team?
I mean, he's been a superstar this series. He's been a superstar this whole postseason. And it's hard to overstate just the value that he has brought, like as an offensive player in this. And, again, today, early his first couple of bats, he didn't get a whole lot done. But to come up, Corbin on first base, it was one of those deals where it's like, Corbin didn't go. They threw over one of the times. And it's like, how much does that impact, the pitcher's focus on the hitter? And I don't think it was necessarily a horrible pitch by Nola, but Ketel had his zone and he just absolutely nailed a pitch up and into the right field corner for 3. And then he comes up again, and the D-backs really struggled with runners in scoring position in this game. They scored 5 runs, but it easily could have been 7 or 8 maybe. But Ketel was the guy who got it done, and that's been consistently what he's been throughout this postseason run. So they're not here without him, and he had another monster performance today, and kind of creating that insurance to go up 5-1 was a huge deal with how powerful this lineup could have been. I mean, if it's still 3-1, that's just higher pressure pitches, and the tying run comes up to the plate a couple times probably, and it just looks a little bit different. But they were able to kind of groove through this thing largely because they were up by 4 runs.
If you're the Phillies, why even pitch to him? I mean, I know Schwarber's got 5 home runs in this series. I know Bryce Harper's been great, but Ketel Marte's the hottest hitter in this series. He's got 11 hits in 6 games. He's a switch hitter, so you're always going to have the advantage as a hitter against the pitcher. And with the way Corbin Carroll hasn't really performed in this series, I don't know why the Phillies are still pitching to Ketel. Wouldn't you walk him or at least try to pitch around him the way the Diamondbacks did with Schwarber and Harper tonight early in this game?
Yeah, maybe in certain situations. Walk him every time he comes up. Maybe, I don't know. That's an interesting idea. You can send over to Rob Thompson, but
I'll text him.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm gonna speed dial for sure. Yeah, it's a good question. He's been terrific. He hasn't had the home runs that Schwarber has had that have really changed the game in a different way, but at the same time, he continuously gets it. Has been getting the job done with runners on. So, yeah, I don't know. They're obviously going to have a game plan as far as pitching around him and trying to limit his impact. But, I don't think we're going to see a ton of intentional walks, especially he's going to be the leadoff hitter tomorrow. So he's going to have an opportunity to set the tempo against a left-handed starter. And, we'll see how he looks. But he's always been a better right-handed hitter than a left-handed hitter. So maybe there's an opportunity there for him to continue this magical run.
All right, 2 very, very quick things, and then we'll let you rest up and get ready for this tomorrow, Game 7, do or die.
Rest up. I still got to write.
Well,
you guys are holding me up.
I was just trying to be generous about what I was saying. I don't know if you've seen, over in the ALCS, it's currently 8-2 in the bottom of the 4th in favor of Texas, so maybe it's going that way. And then the other thing I wanted to ask is, have you had a cheesesteak yet? Is your last chance is tomorrow.
What was your question about the Rangers?
There's no question. I was just letting you know it's 8-2, bottom 4, right now as we're speaking.
Okay, that's good to know. That would be an interesting matchup. I mean, the battle of 2 teams who are in last place in 2021 coming back and making the World Series to play each other. That'd be pretty cool. And the D-backs have played pretty well against the Rangers this season. So that would also that would be a storyline. The Philly cheesesteak, not yet. That will be a tomorrow mission of mine.
It better be at the top of your list.
Fantastic.
But I say it, of course, with
I will
love.
Send you a selfie with the cheesesteak in my hand.
There we go. That's what I love to hear. Alex Weiner, who does a fantastic job covering the Diamondbacks for us here at Arizona Sports. Alex, we'll let you get back to it. We know you've got a long night ahead and a long day ahead tomorrow. We'll talk to you then, okay?
Thanks, Alex.